Thanks for your attention. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Riafi. Let's begin it all with our summaries for the day. Public gets 70% allocation of auction goods in new directive. Plus, Boeing expects 737 MAX to fly again by the new year.
The board of directors of the Ghana has in a statement directed the Customs Division of the GRA to immediately allocate 70% of all auction goods to the general public and 30% to the Confiscated Assets Committee. Previously, the practice was the other way around, where the Confiscated Assets Committee was allocated 70% against that of the 30% for the public. Management of the ADB Bank has targeted to grow the bank's agricultural loan portfolio by 50% in 2022. The Finder newspaper reports the bank, which is the single largest investor in agriculture, currently has 27.23% of all its total loans in the agric sector. This will mean that 50% of the bank's entire loan portfolio will go into the agriculture sector by 2022. Managing Director of Engine Ghana Limited, Henry Akwabwa, has touted the contribution of oil marketing companies to the Ghanaian economy, which hit about 3 billion cedis by the close of June 2019. He told the GNA on the average, the OMCs through taxes paid to government 500,000 Ghana cedis, which impacted on the economy. Nigeria's effort to persuade investors that it could become a mining destination for metals is receiving a boost from a small Canadian mining company joining a rush for gold in West Africa. The western tip of the continent is seen as a new frontier as gold miners face a dearth of new discoveries globally. Boeing has said it expects its troubled 737 MAX aircraft to return to the skies before the end of the year. The jet was grounded after 2 fatal crashes, including last year's Lion Air disaster, which killed 189 people.
And that was a summary of the business headlines making news across the globe. Let's begin with our very first story for the day. Government has urged scientists and researchers to focus on the impact climate change is having on the country. Available statistics show that smallholder farmers are reaping low yields in the face of unpredictable weather patterns. Speaking at the 30th Annual General Meeting of the Research Staff Association of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, Deputy Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Patricia P.J., explained there is the need for scientists to pay attention to this development.
Effects of climate change continue to have a devastating impact on humans and plants. Ghanaian scientists and researchers have been charged to come up with market-driven research works to answer questions on how best Ghana could ensure food security. At the 30th Annual General Meeting of the Research Staff Association of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, Deputy Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, Patricia J., explained this intervention is critical to safeguarding Ghana's food basket.
Under the climate change, poor farmers are finding it difficult to predict the timing for rains. And the question is, how can our research community help farmers to solve this problem? How can research and development help to manage climate risk to crop production in order to improve food security?
Speaking to Joy Business, Deputy Director General of the CSIR, Professor Paul Bosu, called on government to invest more into research to enable scientists proper best ways of dealing with climate change.
It's expensive because you are investigating into something that you don't know. You have a hypothesis. You think that something should be where it is, and you need to find out. So you need money. You need money to, if it's, for example, in the area of chemistry or microbiology and such things, you need money to procure reagents. And you need money if you have to go and collect the samples. You need money to go to the field and collect the samples. And even I'm talking about the real work. But then before then, you need an infrastructure, you need microscopes, you need laboratories.
The 30th Annual General Meeting of the Research Staff Association of the CSIR saw scientists and researchers deliberate on interventions to lessen the impact of climate change on Ghana's agriculture.
Let's go to the Ashanti region now, where some traders whose shops were gutted by a fire at the Kumasi Central Market have started reconstructing their structures to resume business. At least 76 shops were razed down last Sunday night, the second time at the same section of the market this year. The Ghana National Fire Service says preliminary investigations reveal faulty electrical appliances were the cause. As affected traders count their losses, Nana Sensu Mensah has been interacting with some of them.
Yet another mysterious fire at Kumasi Central Market. 76 shops at the French line section of the market razed down and left owners devastated. Goods and perhaps cash worth millions of cedis have been lost as affected traders count their losses. Eyewitnesses say the fire began Sunday dawn and spread quickly through the enclave.
What we heard was 3 sounds like something explosion or explode. And as the thing exploded, at the end of it, the fire that came was very terrible. We did all that we could, but because this area was actually meant with woods, you know, it's not easy for you to quench or to off the fire easily. We are not having phones, but those that had phones by that time, they did their best to call the fire so that they can also come and do what they can do.
The second phase of the Kajetia market redevelopment is envisaged to decongest the market with relocation of traders to the newly constructed Kajetia market. Administrative protocols are, however, holding up the process as even registered traders at Kajetia are yet to complete occupation of new shops. Under the circumstance, those at the central market have no clue when they will be relocated. Traders say they can't wait for authorities because their livelihoods depend on their businesses at the market despite the perennial risk.
The reason why we are doing it right now, we don't know what to do, and we cannot sit down. We cannot sit down like that. So we are trying to manage and do something a little. We have children and we have wife, we have family. We are taking care of them. So we don't have anything to do. So we are just trying to see whether we can do some small things and started doing small and take care of our family and friends.
The traders are seriously reconstructing their sheds, which city authorities say obstruct the work of the fire service, even in investigation into the latest incident. Afia Konadu speaks for the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly.
Ideally, they're not supposed to construct it. The sheds were constructed by KMA, so it behoves on us to reconstruct it. And because we know we're going to pull the place down and then we work with reports, we cannot just go the next day and rebuild the sheds for them. We have to wait for the reports of NADMO and fire service, and then based on the reports, we can take a decision whether to reconstruct the sheds for them immediately or to hold on.
So, what's next for traders at Central Market? Completion of relocation for construction work to begin, or yet another unforeseen incident? Nana Sensu Mensah reporting.
Now to some developments within the financial sector. The premise of yet another defunct fund management company, Nordia Capital, was this morning besieged by customers to demand their investments, The aggrieved customers say all attempts to retrieve their monies over a year now have proven futile, as management of the company are nowhere to be found. Abraham Ohini-Jang is an investor with the company.
We've come here as a group to find out what has happened to our funds. For over a year, we haven't had any communication, no dividend payments, and we can't get access to our funds. And the worst, like I said, the worst thing is that the MD of the company doesn't respond to anybody. So we've come here today to meet whoever is here, find out exactly where our deposits, our monies are, so that we can agree on a direction as to how we can retrieve our funds.
For how long have you saved with this company?
Over a year. My certificate expired in May, but from last September, they haven't been able to pay any dividend. From last September right through to the term of the investment, which was a year, and then up to now, my funds are still there and no money has been paid. With the group together, from the loose talk that everybody is saying, it's in the millions of cedis. Regular investment, you are giving an annual dividend. You put it's bulk money, you're giving an annual dividend which can be paid at the end of the term or monthly. Now, for most of the people here, they are people who have worked for their money and they've put their monies there so that they can get a little bit of money at the end of every month to support whatever they earn to do their business or support their families and do whatever they need to do, which is this is exactly what I was doing. And most of these people haven't been able to receive any of these dividends. They can't get access to their money to do any business whatsoever, and they can't get any information as to where their money is.
Have you organized yourself to meet with SEC, the regulatory body?
From here, our intention is to go to SEC and also find out. Some of us have already complained to SEC with no response from SEC.
Now, time, they say, is the best judge to measure the impact of anything in life. But what about production of oil and gas, also known as the black gold? The following Business Desk report highlights how much in terms of total revenues have been accrued to the state since 2011 when Ghana started lifting crude oil, and what are the basic facts.
10 years of oil and gas production in Ghana. The question that has remained on the lips of many is, how has the oil find or black gold benefited the ordinary man or Ghanaian? Ghana's upstream and midstream petroleum sector is highly regulated by the Petroleum Revenue Management Act 815/2011, which was amended in 2015, now Act 893. This law spells out how our oil revenue is collected, distributed, and managed in a manner that is fair to all people of Ghana. First, it must be known that all receipts from petroleum revenues are housed with the Bank of Ghana under the Petroleum Holding Fund. The law says the annual budget funding amount, that's ABFA, as its name suggests, is used to support the budget. GMPC also receives a portion as the nation's oil company. Ghana Stabilization Fund, GSF, is the cushion for public expenditure during unexpected declines in petroleum revenue, and the Ghana Heritage Fund, GHF, was to support the development of future generations when oil is depleted. As at the end of June 2019, Ghana had accrued a little over $5 billion since April 2011 from upstream oil sector. Too much or too little? Your guess is as good as mine. Keep your dials on Joy 99.7 FM and Joy News as we bring you the Joy Business Town Hall meeting on oil and gas on October 28th.
Yes, like you rightly heard, the Joy Business Oil and Gas Town Hall meeting is taking place at the Movenpick Ambassador Hotel on October 28th at 9 a.m. The program is supported by Media Foundation for West Africa and the First National Bank. Away from that, cashew cultivation in Ghana continues to suffer some setbacks due to absence of needed support in terms of policies to facilitate cashew development. Some challenges undermining effective development of the commodity include low producer prices, underdeveloped market structures, and inadequate industry structures. The Cashew Development Project, CDP, has commenced to help improve the business environment, while government plans to establish a tree crop authority to regulate the industry. In this report, Joy News' Nesta Kafuya Juma says major players in the cashew value chain are rather advocating a separate body to control the system. The cocoa industry, where farmers are supported with inputs and implements, government is being asked to also support cashew farmers with farm inputs, which could help raise yields whilst lessening their burdens. Establishment of a cashew body to regulate the sale of raw cashew nuts and other related activities was a major promise by President Akufo-Addo prior to coming into office. During the launch of the 10-year cashew development plan last year by the Cashew Industry Association of Ghana in collaboration with Ghana Export Promotion Authority at Wenchi, President Akufo-Addo further emphasized his government's commitment to establishing the board. Stakeholders of the cashew industry value chain, especially farmers, were elated about the president's reassurance. However, in a recent tour of the Bono region, President Akufo-Addo announced plans to establish the Tree Crop Authority instead of the proposed cashew board. According to the president, the Tree Crop Authority bill, when passed by Parliament into law, will take care of cashew, palm, coconut, rubber, coffee, and mango.
Cashew Tree Crop Development Authority. Say, and no at the Parliament, and in my Ababa says, and son of Parliament, ye baby sorry, na and Radaba, ever made to me a Tree Crop Authority. Authority no sooner about befe cashew, ni mango, ni rubber, ni unina won punto. Which me I am up and say, the air ama cocoa. The cocoa board, so nearby ama cashew production with a guaranteed price for what between my farmers, so in your hodia, when you go to the cashew production, in your room now, I walk cashew, you man, Bumba Eba, Bubia. We are in Sisemo, Sabans, a yes, is a bar, a bebois, and my cashew, you man, a tintimua, Mososo, Munya Faso.
The Cashew Industry Association of Ghana, CIAG, has expressed disappointment about lumping up 6 plants under one board, whilst cocoa stands alone. Aaron Achia is Executive Secretary of the CIAG.
The President talked about the establishment of the board in June 2018. All of a sudden, we heard that they were going to have a tree crop board. That is, they were going to put all the tree crops together and then establish a board for all of them. I don't know if it was want of money. That's why they couldn't establish the cashew board. I don't know if it's because of money. That's why they cannot isolate the various crops. Well, on the point of SIAG, we think if the various commodities are separated or are isolated for their boards, I think a better job can be done. We had that they had a consultative workshop of which we were part of it, but we also spoke our mind. We also said what we wanted to be done.
A lecturer at the University of Development Studies, Dr. John Akpareb, has been a key campaigner for the cashew board. He says the effort to make cashew industry a better one has gradually gained momentum.
I'm particularly happy because what we're pushing for is cashew. And if cashew is named amongst them, then it's good news for us. It is good to have something that is not very favorable than not to have it at all. Let it come into being. And thereafter we can pursue to have a split if they need be.
Some stakeholders are, however, describing the Plant Tree Crop Authority as a disaster in waiting that will never promote the gains made by the cashew industry with support from the Ghana Export Promotion Authority. They are therefore calling for a reverse of the decision to introduce the Tree Crop Authority. Nesta Kafuya Jomen's report. Now, private universities are exploring ways to expand their facilities and faculties in preparation to receive the first batch of free senior high school graduates next academic year. Chairman of Wisconsin International University Council says the anticipated demand for tertiary education places responsibility on both public and private sectors. Justice Doche Maolom was speaking at the first matriculation of the university's campus in Kumasi. Nana Asensumensa has more.
The first batch of beneficiaries of the free SHS program will certainly swell numbers of prospective students tertiary institutions can hardly contain. The mantle will consequently fall on private schools to absorb many qualified applicants. Wisconsin International University says lack of space cannot be an excuse to return products onto the street after investing resources in them for second cycle education. Justice Doche is council chairman.
It's our response in the private sector to the expected volume of graduates from the free SHS program. We noticed that education is a very important public good, and once government had decided to take a path, it is proper that business follows that path and makes it possible for government to succeed.
Justice Doche says government support for private institutions as partners in developing the country's human resources is crucial.
In this direction, we will also take this opportunity to treat government to treat the private universities as partners in the business of developing the human capital of this country. And therefore, government should find it possible to give sufficient tax rebate and assistance to the private universities because we are in a partnership. We recognize that government cannot do it alone, and they know it. So we are inviting them to assist the private sector in very intangible ways. We don't want their money, but we want opportunity to be given to us to develop the private sector in education.
Head of Kumasi campus of the university, Professor Kofi Srakulate, advocates tax rebates and reduction in accreditation fees for private universities.
The effect actually starts with the accreditation and affiliation processes, and it's very expensive. You have to pay fees for accreditation of the institution. You have to pay for accreditation of each program. So the new ones that we say that we are going to start now, we have to go through accreditation and you pay fees. These are expensive. So this, per program, you can pay about $3,000 to $5,000. Yes.
Now, when David Tego and his friends decided to start a breakfast joint in their hostel on the University of Ghana campus, little did they know it would become one of the highly patronized eateries even after school. Today, Rowi's Breakfast Factory serves hundreds of students breakfast meals all day. That's where the Joy Business Van is headed to.
My name is David Tego, I'm co-founder Rowi's Breakfast Factory.
Breakfast is said to be the most important meal of the day, but it could also be a meal you can have all day if you like. That's if you patronize Rowi's Breakfast Factory. David Tego is co-founder of the breakfast joint, which was started 6 years ago whilst he was a student at the University of Ghana. Not because he and his partner really thought they could be good at running a business, not at all. They needed to solve a problem.
The problem that we identified was that there was no breakfast restaurants here in Pentagon. Everybody from Pentagon went to campus to have breakfast. So we decided that, why don't you try hands on this? It's not that difficult to make, it's not that difficult to start. So we started something here.
Right there at the African Union Hall, or Pentagon as the facility is popularly called by students, they started specializing in mainly English and American breakfast menus. The co-founders, who were students of economics, may have just found a way to apply the law of demand and supply.
2 nuggets.
Is that what you feel like eating?
David recalls the early days of operations, having received funding from family and friends.
So we started making the food in our rooms and started serving around to our fellow students. So we go to room, we knock, we did flyers, pasters, we posted this, social media, everybody knew, we texted that, because at that time, WhatsApp wasn't so big in 2010, 2011. That was when we were trying to conceive the idea. So send text messages, send WhatsApp message that, if you want breakfast, if you want food, for this period, this whole week, come to this room. If you don't, and you want us to deliver, call us, we'll come and deliver to our rooms. The order. So 1 waffle combo. I think that's all. Yeah.
Rowi's had good patronage, and after school, co-founders of the business had to make the decision whether they wanted to continue with it or quit.
After school, we decided to go into full-time business. Full-time business is opening Monday to Saturday, opening full-time. We open 7:30 to 4 p.m. So that means we're going to expand the capacity. That means we had to get more equipment, we had to get more staff. That means we had to run a system that will be seamless. challenge going forward.
Now, David and his team are looking to expand across the country.
Because you don't have that many cafes in Ghana, that many Ghanaian-owned cafes, and that's what we tried to do. We started University of Ghana also because we're here, and also because once students taste us, they are going to go into the working environment. They're going to go to working class, so they will take that taste outside. So if we set up in a business house, they're like, oh, when we're on campus, we used to eat from this place, it's tried and tested. So it will be easier when we break into that space of having cafes listed all over.
Like they say, watch the space.
And that's it for Business Live. We have more business for you when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. We're back tomorrow. Have a good evening.